Breaking news, the pickleball tours are at war once again. The APP and UTR are teaming up to take on newly formed MLP and the PPA, and it's all coming up right now. As you may have heard, the MLP, which is a Major League Pickleball, and the PPA, which is the Pickleball Players Association, have both teamed up to work together. Sounds like Steven Kuhn and Tom Dundon were able to put their egos aside so that the Billionaires could work toward their mutual goals. Make sure to watch this video to the end because I'm going to go over where I think this war is headed and how it's going to affect you as a player. I listen to all the MLP podcasts so then you don't have to. Here's what I gathered from the one that featured Steven Kuhn. The goals that Steven Kuhn has for MLP is to get more viewers watching pickleball, also to ensure that the pros are compensated better, and to take pickleball nationwide and eventually across the globe. It's pretty clear that MLP and PPA are going after two segments. They want to dominate the pro tour, and they also want to serve the recreational market. PPA, who has just joined with MLP, has been pretty ruthless in their attempts to dominate the pro tour. What they've been doing is they've been going after exclusive contracts with players. So then they are incentivized to play on their tour and cut APP out of the equation. Now that MLP and PPA are working together, they're both taking on the same strategy where they're getting exclusive contracts, not just for the pro players on an individual level, but they're also signing into contract set teams. Clearly, APP isn't going to take this laying down. Just to give you an idea of the exclusivity that PPA and MLP are going after, listen to this. Since forming the strategic partnership on November 9th, the organizations have rapidly pieced together the look of professional pickleball in 2023. 24 Major League Pickleball teams will be divided into Premier and Challenger leagues. The Premier League will draft all of its 48 players before the Challenger League drafts. 2 seasons will be played in 2023, spread out over 6 events. Combined prize pool increased to $8 to $10 million. Players will be required to hold PPA MLP gold and silver player cards. Now you may be asking, what are PPA MLP Play Tour cards? These are cards where players receive 2x payouts in MLP and PPA events. They're excluded from playing events outside of MLP and PPA, namely APP Tour events, and it requires them to play 20 PPA events versus 5 for silver card players. Clearly, these two organizations want to capture top talent, and they don't want to lose the top talent by them going off and playing APP Tour events. By MLP and PPA doing this, APP is for certain going to be very pissed off. And what I predict is going to happen is that they're going to start going after players with exclusive contracts, and they're going to launch a team dynamic and get teams signed in as well. So I don't feel like this is actually going to be good for players because they're going to feel like they're being left out of events. The merger between MLP and PPA was a game changer. Now they are a force to be reckoned with. And one thing that Steven Kuhn did when he launched MLP was he also launched DUPR. DUPR stands for Dynamic Pickleball Universal Rating, and it assigns a score or a rating to a player based on their results. So whether you're a pro player or a recreational player, if you play enough and you do organized play, you will have a DUPR rating. And this is good because when you go out to play on the courts, you can play against other people with similar ratings to you. And then that way, when people show up and you ask them, hey, what's your DUPR? It kind of gives you an idea of what skill level they're at. And it takes the bad guy out of the equation. So rather than a director like myself or another player on the court telling them that they don't belong, DUPR is the bad guy. It tells the people where they're at. So then you can go out and play and have a little bit more fun and have the competition be fair. APP isn't going to let MLP and PPA just take over the consumer market or the recreational market of pickleball. That's why they've teamed up with Universal Tennis Rating. And what UTR is that they're like a platform that provides program management, tournaments, and ratings to tennis players everywhere. And they're really trying to compete on a national level and a global level to become the IT system for all ratings for tennis players. However, now that they've partnered with the APP, they're going to be doing the same thing for pickleball. So they're going to be providing dynamic ratings for pickleball players. They're going to be having tournament setups, league coordinator systems, everything that you could imagine they're going to have for pickleball players. And the providers that already have UTR and are paying for the service are going to get the pickleball end as an included benefit at no additional cost. So think about it. All those centers that are already utilizing UTR and paying for the service are definitely going to be signing up with UTR for pickleball. This is going to be a very interesting war. On one hand, you have the established brands, the APP and UTR. And on the other hand, you have the new kids on the block, the PPA and MLP, which have a ton of star power, and they have a lot of energy and momentum behind them. If I had to pick who I think is going to come out on top of all this, it would be MLP and DUPR, because they're screaming what their goals are and they're knocking them down. For example, they said that they want to get more viewership and more people in the game of pickleball. And who did they recruit for team owners? They got LeBron James, they got Tom Brady, they got Kevin Durant, they got Mark Cuban, they got Anheuser-Busch, they got everybody. I mean, who else can you get? They got some of the biggest names and star power that we have in the country. One of MLP's goals was to make sure that the professional players were compensated better, and they have definitely been doing it. Across 6 tournaments, the first season for MLP was $250,000 for players. The second season was $1.2 million, and that all happened in 1 year. This coming season, they're projecting $4 million in payouts for players, which is a huge jump. So players are definitely going to love this. When it comes to the recreational segment, as well as the rating systems, I'm also taking DUPR over UTR, and here's why. It's just a really cool concept because now recreational players can go out there, compete against one another, and grow with each other while getting a dynamic rating system without having to pay for it. Also, when you go out, if everybody in your club or everybody in your areas on the DUPR system, you can do drop-in play for different levels, and you don't need to be the bad guy, or the director of the center doesn't need to be the bad guy saying, you don't belong in this group, you'd be better off in the 3-5 group, or whatever the case may be. DUPR is now the bad guy, and it doesn't cost anything to go and get your rating, and you don't need to go pay a pro to have them tell you what your rating is. DUPR will do all that, and it's just a great tool to have. Whereas with UTR or Universal Tennis Rating, how it's been established with tennis is that you can play leagues that are sanctioned, tournaments, all of that, and it'll go into your UTR. However, it's all pay to play to get a rating. Whereas with DUPR, you don't need to pay anything and you can get your rating established. Maybe UTR will make that shift, but I really doubt it because it's kind of driven into their revenue model, because the more that they can get you doing organized play events like UTR tournaments, the more money that they generate. There you guys have it. I'm taking the MLP and the PPA for the win. What do you guys think? Will APP and UTR come out on top? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to keep watching and subscribe, because on one of our next videos, we're going to go over how an online feud has resulted in a 2v1 matchup, the pro versus the Joe, for $100,000. And these guys are going at each other online. It's pretty dirty. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you guys in the next video.